Hi, I'm Blake Murnan with CHS Product Development, and today I'm coming to you from one of our secret COVID-19 shelter-in-place laboratories, also known as my garage. With winter wheat about ready to come off of many fields in our geography, I'd like to take the opportunity to speak to you about this. Well, not what's exactly in the jar, but what's living in the jar. Stored grain insects cause millions of dollars worth of damage to the U.S. grain crop every year. And with the warmer weather cycles we've been experiencing in the last few years, the range of these insects continues to grow. Therefore, more and more farmers need to be aware of the impact that stored grain insects may have on their operation. Grain insects are classified into 4 categories. Internal feeders, which are the most damaging of the insects. This is where the larvae develop inside the kernel and emerge as adults. Examples would be the weevil and the lesser grain borer. Let's take a look at an example of an internal feeder underneath the microscope. This is a weevil, and it died trying to emerge from a kernel of wheat. Weevils are fairly easy to identify at the family level due to the big snout that they have for a mouth part. The elongated pits on the thorax tells me this is a granary weevil compared to rice or maize weevils, which are also very common in stored grain. Next are the external feeders. These insects feed on the outside of the kernel and may burrow into the kernel itself. The Indian meal moth is an example of this type of feeder. Scavengers are our next category. These insects feed on damaged grain caused by other insects or mechanically damaged grain. The red and the confused flower beetles are examples of scavengers. Secondary pests are the last of the categories, and they are attracted by another variable such as moisture or mold, or they may just accidentally encounter the grain mass. They are usually good indicators that your problem has turned into a very big problem. What I have in the jar here are confused flower beetles, so they're considered scavengers. They are flightless insects and rely on man to transport them throughout the country. However, they are incredibly strong and durable. They can last for many months on very low food and water. As a side note, because they don't need much food and water, they're incredibly easy to care for. The only watch out when caring for these insects is not to drop this jar. Otherwise, you get what we call in the entomological business as an infestation. So in hindsight, they may not be the best pet to have around. However, let's take a look at the behavior of the confused flower beetle when it hasn't seen much food in several months, and then we'll add some new food to it and see how the behavior of this insect changes. What we are looking at here is the confused flower beetles. The adults can live for 18 months, but their life cycle to generate the next generation is only 23 days. As you can see, because they haven't had a lot of food or water for many days, their metabolism has slowed down and they're conserving energy. Now if we move over to another jar that has had new food introduced to it a couple minutes ago, we can see the new activity of these insects that have been introduced to new food. You can see that a lot of insects are moving around. They are burrowing into the new food source, and the next generation of confused flower beetles is only a few days away. As we've demonstrated, the insects only need a new food source to really kick off their activity and produce the next generation. So if this was a grain bin, the farmer would be dealing with a pretty good infestation, which would only be several days away. When grain gets infested, the only reliable method of controlling the insects in that grain is to fumigate. Fumigation uses an active ingredient called aluminum phosphide. When it interacts with moisture in the atmosphere, it generates phosphine gas. Phosphine gas is what gets into the grain mass and even into the grain itself and does the control for the insects. Unfortunately, phosphine is highly toxic to many animals, including humans. That is why fumigation requires a certified applicator, and it's also placarded as a endangered poison. In addition to that, fumigation requires an FMP, or fumigation management plan. This basically is a communication to the people that are in the area, the workers, also emergency personnel, what is being fumigated, how it's being fumigated, and when it's going to happen. In addition to that, farm storage bins are usually very leaky, and a lot of times when you have leakage of the gas, you don't get a good enough concentration to control the insects, and this we can demonstrate very easily. In order for a good fumigation to happen, it needs to have concentration of the gas over a length of time for control to be adequate. In this demonstration, we're going to show what happens when a grain bin is not sealed properly and the phosphine gas is left to leak out of the building. When that happens, the concentration of the phosphine gas may not be strong enough to get adequate control. On the demo tower next to me here, this will represent a grain bin that has not been properly sealed. The entry ports below on the bottom portion of the grain bin are open. The vents up on top have not been sealed, and then the joint between the roof line and the grain bin itself have not been sealed. Compared to the model on my right, where the port has been properly sealed, the vents up on top are sealed, along with any openings between the roof line and the bin itself have been sealed. We should be able to see that there is a concentration difference between this one and this one over here. What we're going to use is smoke bombs as a substitute for the phosphine gas. One of the things that you'll notice is that the smoke bomb is going to liberate all the gas at once. Phosphine gas is liberated over time. However, as a gas, they're both similar in weight, and you'll be able to see the movement of the smoke in a grain bin that has been properly sealed and what happens when it's not properly sealed. And you'll get a rough idea of what that means for phosphine gas during the fumigation. So we can see here in the demonstration, the smoke in the grain bin that has been properly sealed is being concentrated, and we don't see a lot of leakage coming out of the bin at all. The grain bin on my left here, the one that hasn't been properly sealed, same amount of smoke has been put into this one as the one that's properly sealed, but we're getting incredible venting coming out of the top and a little bit coming out down below as well too. Again, to have a good fumigation, you need to have concentration of the phosphine gas over time. When you don't properly seal a structure for fumigation, you have leakage of the phosphine gas over time. You don't get the concentration needed for a kill, and the fumigation itself would be considered inadequate. So as you can see from our earlier discussion on fumigation and the demonstration that we did as well too, there are many challenges to fumigating. And at the end of the day, it's probably best left to have the experts do a fumigation. So are there other steps and procedures a grower can take to help limit or reduce the chance of stored grain insects getting into their grain operation? The answer to that is yes. And in our crop management guide, we have a section that does outline the proper steps to take to help reduce the chance of insect infestation in your grain operation. So some of the products that a grower can use to help reduce the risk of insect infestation in their grain operation are products provided by our manufacturing partner, Bayer Crop Sciences. They have an array of different products that can be used to help keep insects out of your stored grain. First two products are Delta Dust and Tempo. These two products are used as a pre-bin spray and crack and crevice filler as well too. Active ingredient in the Delta Dust is deltamethrin, and Tempo is beta-cyfluthrin. Very strong product for many different insects and has good longevity. On the Delta Dust, as the name implies, it is a dust, and you use this product in the cracks and crevices that may exist on the bin floor. For the grain itself, they have three different products that can be used. The first one is Storeside 2. It has two active ingredients, However, some crops are not listed for this product, and there are certain restrictions into the EU with the use of this product. Suspend SC is a product that has one of the active ingredients found in Storeside 2. It is deltamethrin, which we found in the Delta dust. It has a larger label on it and less restrictions for it. So that may be a product of opportunity. And last is their new product, Sensat, which is spinosad. It is a byproduct of bacteria fermentation, and it has reduced EPA registration to it. So these products are ones that can be used to help reduce the infestation risk of insects in stored grain. And to demonstrate their usefulness, we've treated grain with the different products, or if they are a bin spray, we just treated the Petri dish with the product, and then we have it up against the check. And we'll come back in a few hours to check to see how the insects are doing. Here's an overview of the demonstration of the different products that we're looking at. Up top are the bin sprays, or the crack and crevice, up against the check. So here we have Tempo, which the product has been sprayed to the Petri dish. Deltamethrin, the product's been dusted into the Petri dish, and then our check. On the top of that, we've had the insects introduced into both these Petri dishes that are treated, and then the check. Down below, we have grain that's been put into these Petri dishes. Storeside applied to this dish, Suspend applied to this dish, and Sensat applied to this one, looking against the insects that are put into the check. So we'll come back in a few hours to check to see how our insects are doing in the treated grain or the treated Petri dishes up against our two checks. We're back after 2 hours of exposure to our different products, and here are the results that we came up with. Tempo, again, which is a product used for bin sprays, controlled all 10 insects that were introduced to it. The Delta dust, again, another bin spray type of a product, controlled 9 out of 10 against the check, which had 9 live insects left in it. The 3 products that are used to be applied directly to grain, Storeside 2, controlled all 10, along with the Suspend SC, controlled all 10, and then Sensat controlled 6 out of the 10, with 10 live insects against its check. These products do, at first glance, seem to have some good efficacy against stored grain insects, and may be options for growers looking to protect their grain from infestation from stored grain insects. Remember, the label is the law, and always to read and follow label directions of each product before use. For more information on stored grain management and other products and services offered by CHS, you can check us out at chsinc.com or liftagacademy.com. Thank you.